network, the boxer, the promoter. Anyway, it was in March we heard that BUATSI ENNIS, dad of JARON Boots Ennis, admitted that he turned down an offer from BLK Prime to fight Terence Crawford for the WBO title. So, was I disappointed? Yes. 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 So, the Mean Machine, EGIS KAVALIAUSKAS, will be back on a PBC event in June, according to Snack Nutrition, where I saw a comment from Steve Kim on Twitter. I'm told that Boots' team rejected the fight. How disappointing is that? What I don't get is how can so much of us be looking forward to seeing what a boxer can do? He's 25 years of age, 5'10", 74-inch reach, 30-0, 27 knockouts. And then you find out that for whatever reason, 2 fights, one for the title and another against, I'll say, fringe contender. He's still ranked by some of the sanctioning bodies, but I'll say fringe contender at this stage. Why are these fights being avoided? If he's going to be anywhere as good as what we thought, why would this fight be avoided? BUATSI, what's going on? Blood, what's going on? Maybe they didn't like how KAVALIAUSKAS looked against Mikael Fox. I haven't seen the fight, but apparently he looked pretty good. That was late last year. 34 years of age. 2 stoppage losses. 1 to Virgil Ortiz. Another to Terence Crawford. Got a majority draw on his record against Ray Robinson, who is very capable. You have to feel for Ray. I remember a couple of years back, he was calling for fights and he's on the PBC. He got nothing. You know, I mean, like, why ain't Boots fighting guys like that? Haven't heard nothing about Ray Robinson in a while. He's probably retired, just couldn't get the fights. Nobody wanted to fight him because it's going to be a difficult assignment. So boxers avoid these assignments, and then you got fanboys who will turn into, what do they call them? Is it fanagers? It's a good name. You know, Ray Robinson don't bring no value to a fight like that. He's boring, he's this and that. And then they make ducking the most coolest thing in the world. I mean, I put Boots' name in the search engine. I can't find nothing. No potential fights. I don't even know if he's injured or anything. Why he's not taking the fight. Nothing. The trail is cold as anything. I mean, am I reading this right? Boots has had 2 fights since October 2021, and one of them went 2 rounds. It's just frustrating, really, isn't it? Let me leave it. And a lot of the madness just seems to be at Showtime. Showtime, PBC, Al Heyman, Tom Brown. A lot of the madness just seems to be there. I mean, is this correct? Yeah? Erislandy Lara, Danny Garcia, voluntary approved, WBA. The winner to face Michael Zarafa. Alright, let's deal with Zarafa in a minute and see what his credentials are for this fight. Now, this is for the lower tier belt. Obviously, you know, Jamel's got all the straps, the legit straps. My God. I need to lie down. I forgot Lara is the WBA champion at 160. I forgot. So hold on. Danny Garcia, who hasn't been a champion since 2017 when he lost to Keith Thurman, right? That's 6 years ago. That was at 147. Danny Garcia, yeah, who didn't fight for the whole of 2021, who lost to Errol Spence, and then didn't fight for the whole of 2021, beat Jose Benavidez Jr. at 154, I believe it was. Gets a shot at the middleweight title. But then again, you know, Lara fought someone named Thomas Lamana. And then Spike O'Sullivan got a shot. Why am I following this sport right now? Why? What am I doing? I mean, 147 was supposed to be a hot division. That's turned to a bowl of fucking shit. 160 has just been horrible for an age now. You got Jamal holding onto a belt which the WBC will not take off him and will not force him to fight Adames. Lord knows what Triple G is doing. How is Lara a champion with the names he's fought now? And how is Danny Garcia getting a shot? It's just a mess. A total mess. They were trying to sell me Johnny Beck as some boogeyman the other day. And like, Adamas called him out, and he didn't want to know. Jaime Munguia is fighting Derivyachenko when he could have got title shots and like just declined them. It's just like, let me get my Hagler Hopkins, Carlos Monzon, Sugar Ray Robinson tapes out, because 160 is a great division, and to see it like this is quite upsetting actually, to be honest, when you think of it on a deep level. Before I go in, has Simon Jordan ever spoke to Prince Khalid or any of the big hitters in Saudi Arabia about purses?
Hell no. He replied.
So Eddie Hearn, he responded to what numbers Simon Jordan put on Twitter. 90 million for Tyson Fury, 50 million for Usyk, 30 million pounds apiece for Wilder and AJ. Eddie responded with a smiley face and he said, furthermore, Prince Khalid bin Abdulaziz of Saudi Arabia called the numbers not true and said that the financial terms had not been discussed. There are many aspects of the tournament that leave fans sceptical, not least the purses and the broadcast deals. Still, enough people involved have said that it has the potential to warrant some thought. The closest of the two fights appears to be Joshua versus Wilder, with Hearn recently telling Boxing Social that both teams were on board and the next stage would be putting it on paper. As for Fury and Usyk, it's a fight that's simply hard to predict in terms of the deal. There were seemingly no obstacles at the beginning of the year, and fans still watched it fall apart for a series of social media call-outs and demands. Look, I know Simon Jordan's got a lot of people believing that he's really some big player in boxing, but he hasn't invested shit. It's all an elaborate rouse. Or is that pronounced ruse? I don't know. I'll go with rouse. To get some kind of leverage. I don't know what their end game is. I can't claim to know that. But they have some aspiration that they can have some control of what is either happening or what's being said or what's being perceived in boxing without putting their fucking hands in their pockets. Cheeky fucking beggars. And it hasn't fooled me once. It'll fool a lot of people, but not Beats. How can I believe Simon Jordan knows more about this than Eddie, who's been promoted for how many years and his dad was there before him? And Prince Khalid knocked it all back. And he's the one with the dosh, yeah? It's his money, right?
But that doesn't alter the fact that when these guys came with you, say a Coley or BUATSI that were with you, and they moved to DAZN, they've all come away from it, or certainly in those two instances, with a great feeling that this might be all right for Matchroom, but it hasn't been particularly good for us. And then you're quite... Rather than accept the fact that sometimes you speculate to accumulate and sometimes you accept the fact that you run the risk of investing in fighters, you don't make it every single time, you seem to be quite acerbic and facetious and vitriolic about people that choose not to take up your particular conditionality.
Acerbic, facetious and vitriolic conditionality? Fuck you think you are, Keith Murray?
Y'all mythological niggas is comical, the astronomical is coming through like the flu bombing you.
And if you listen to that debate with Eddie Hearn, he starts going into the acerbic, vitriolic fallacy, facetious confidentiality when Eddie is burying him. He starts using the long words then, because he didn't have the receipts or the empirical data to hold his own. You're quite acerbic, vitriolic, facetious with the confidentiality fallacy trying to embarrass me. How dare you challenge me, Eddie? And like... When our top British stars like Amir Khan and Carl Froch were struggling for TV dates on terrestrial TV, ITV, there was no Simon Jordan. Frank was on Box Nation, there was no Simon Jordan. When Eddie was still doing prize fighter tournaments, there was no Simon Jordan. Simon popped up when big money was being spoken about. And look, you see, I know what it is. It's a narcissist, it's greed. When guys like Simon see big money being spoke about, he wants to make sure that he has a say in the conversation and uses all them long words trying to bamboozle someone like he's freestyling in a rapper cipher. You know what I mean? I know more about the business of promotion than Eddie, who's actually getting the funding from DAZN and the Saudis to put these shows on. I know more than him. See, what Simon is hoping for eventually is blag, 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 long words, yeah, I know this and that. Get a nice demographic of sheep who actually believe he knows more of what he's talking about than Eddie. And then eventually, some big conglomerate is going to say, Simon is the man, we need him here. You see, nobody in the Football League or any other country would let him near a football club with a barge pole. So now he's turned his attention to boxing and he sees that the sport isn't well regulated. The British Boxing Board of Control don't know their fucking ass from right? The network and promotion situation is all fragmented. No joined up thinking. The PED situation is a mess. And within that confusion, he can worm his way in somehow, where he couldn't get back in football after that debacle of a mess he left at Crystal Palace years back. Let's keep it real, yeah? Simon's all right doing the disc jockey or shock jockey thing. He's all right. He was all right doing that for a little while. But Simon wants to be amongst the Prince Khalid, Eddie Hearn, Aram, Warren, BT, ESPN, DAZN, Sky, Matchroom, crunching up big figures with the big wigs. That's what he really wants to be doing. Let's keep it real. You know, at this point here, he feels that the whole shock jock thing is beneath him. I tell you what, you better go pick up that thesaurus.
Acerbic and facetious and vitriolic about people that choose not to take up your particular conditionality.
I mean, it's boxing, innit? Biff baff, a bit of riff raff. Boxing's always let anyone in, whether they, you know, got some slick talk or a bit of money to promote, manage, regulate, broadcast. So if he can blag it, good luck to the guy.
In my old days of blagging.
So Tank swerves prison, 3 years probation. He will do 90 days in Calvin Ford's house as trainer, bit of community service, and that's that. Well, a lot of people wanted to see him do hard time. What Tank did was callous and cowardly, you know, and the judge pulled him up. He didn't even say sorry to the woman, just drove off. I just hope he uses his freedom to concentrate on him, his daughter, his family, and has a productive life and doesn't get into no more incidents like this. Hopefully this is a corner that Tank turns. Really do hope so, because he is a role model for a lot of young men and young women too. Without getting too godly and religious, who would be wise to count them blessings? The mother of Tank's daughter retracted her statement, claiming that Tank never meant to harm her or her daughter. That was at the end of last year. Someone don't want him to go in prison. I have a feeling I know who that is. Does Tank know? Not really big on fantasy fights like that. But when Tony Bellew brought up this one that fell apart twice in 2013, it was interesting to revisit it, and the results are quite interesting. I ran it across 2 social media platforms. The Twitter feed only had 81 votes. 54.3 said Fury would have won if he had fought David Haye in 2013. That's pretty tight. On the YouTube community post, 376 votes. 55% believe David Haye would have beat Tyson Fury. Okay, so Joshua BUATSI takes on Paweł Stepien from Poland tomorrow at the King's Suite in Hilton, Birmingham. BUATSI tipped the scales 174 and Stepien weighed in at 175. According to BoxRec, they're both 6'2", but clearly Stepien is the taller man. Now, could be accentuated by their footwear, but I've seen a few pictures and Stepien clearly looks like the taller guy. It happens quite often in boxing, isn't it? They're both built at the same height and one is clearly taller than the other. All the best to Joshua BUATSI on his new venture with Boxer. That's on Sky. Then we head over to DAZN. Saul Canelo Alvarez. Ring Magazine, WBO, WBA, IBF and WBC 168-pound undisputed champion takes on John Ryder, the mandatory interim WBO champion from Islington, London. Canelo came in bang on the 168-pound limit, half a pound up from what he weighed against Gennady Golovkin in September. Ryder came in marginally lighter at 167.9. Now, I believe there was 2 weigh-ins. An official weigh-in, and I think the footage from this one is the ceremonial weigh-in. Canelo returns to his people in Mexico. Yeah, he said since 2011-2012, he's wanted to come back and fight in Mexico. It's been difficult to make a big fight there, and this was the correct moment to bring the fight. And that's what they've done. Guadalajara. Ryder looking very intense. Very intense. And a lot of people still don't understand how good a fighter John Ryder actually is. And I believe this fight has a little bit of Jack Catterall, Josh Taylor written all over it. He was the undisputed champion too. Canelo needs to be taking this fight extremely serious. But he must be an overwhelming favorite. How serious can he really take what's supposed to be just the mere formality in the big Guadalajara celebration? The great son of Mexican boxing returns. Can't give yourself the fear factor. Remember I said that? You can talk to the press and tell them, yeah, I'm taking Ryder very serious. He's a very good fighter. I have to take him serious. You can say all the right things. But all fighters have flaws and weaknesses in their psyche, egos. How much can he really make himself fear John Ryder that he ticks all the boxes? John Ryder, very intense. You can see, very intense. And for me, the biggest concern for John is that he doesn't get so intense that he's bound up and tightened up by the time he gets to the ring, and he can't feel his way into the fight because he just can't relax because of the 50,000, 60,000 crowd baying for his blood. But he desperately wants to win and become a great British fighter, in a win that will rank alongside the best of them. I mean, I see him hanging out with John H. Stracey, who of course went out to Mexico in the mid-70s to take on Jose Napoles in a fight that John wasn't supposed to win for the welterweight title. John got off the floor early on in the fight and proceeded to beat Napoles into submission. Huge upset. Napoles was a pound-for-pound great, born in Cuba, adopted by Mexico, and the Mexican locals were not happy. Tracy and his team, they hit the town after celebrating, and it got a little hairy. I haven't got all the stories to quote. I don't know if anything went down, but they weren't pleased. And Napoles was coming to the tail end of his career, and I wouldn't dare detract anything from Stracey. It was him who travelled all the way to the bull ring. It was a bull ring in Mexico, and ripped the title away from Napoles. But I have to ask myself, did Napoles underestimate John and pay the price? Especially after he floored him early. That was Napoles' last fight. Yeah. John Ryder's going to give Canelo a tough time in there. A very tough time. I'm not only saying that because of what I've seen John Ryder do in the ring. I have a gut feeling it's going to be a very tough fight. Canelo didn't look great against Golovkin, an aged Golovkin, although it was probably the clearest margin of victory he's had against Golovkin in their 3 fights. Before that, lost to Bivol. He's coming off hand surgery. I'm not going to pick Ryder to win. I think Canelo will win and should win, but I feel this will be one of his tougher fights. I do. I think the speed and know-how might be a little too much for John. I'm almost certain it goes the distance. I'm almost certain about that. The way the Mexicans are just celebrating almost like Canelo's won already. Canelo's like the president out there. Part of me just believes that he might well be underestimating John Ryder to his own detriment. Eddie Reynoso, though, is a professional, and he will try and keep Canelo on his toes. There's still hard work to be done in that squared circle. Tony Sims doesn't push no weak hearts in that ring, bro. I'm telling you. Tony Sims doesn't push weak hearts in that ring. They all go and give explosive performances, powerful performances. Tony Sims is a slept-on trainer, and John Ryder might be a slept-on fighter. It is very early in the morning, but I could go live for it. I could go live. Have a great weekend. Let's hope the boxing lives up to our expectations this weekend. Peace.